Welcome into another exciting edition of Locked On 76ers, but this one's a special one as the NBA season for the 76ers kicks off tonight in Boston at 7:30. Your man Keith Pompey right there, Inquirer.com, beat writer extraordinaire, is in Beantown doing the show today live. We'll break it all down and more, including our bold predictions, storylines, and win total for the season. All that on today's episode of Locked On 76ers.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And we do thank you for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Keith Pompey, now you just sat down at the hotel room in Boston. You just got back from shoot-around. Before we get into anything surrounding the entire season and all that and what to expect from this team, any notes from shoot-around earlier this morning in Boston?
You know, it's weird. The biggest thing is I guess, Joel Embiid playing. Outside of that, VJ Edgecom making his professional regular season debut. And, you're asking him, hey, my man, are you a little nervous? Or, were you able to sleep? And he said, man, I slept great last night. I got 8 hours of sleep. He's not really nervous. It's like a regular game. He knows that this is going to be a big moment for him. He knows all that. But at the same time, he just seemed relaxed. He seemed chill. It's like, he was calm, cool, collected. And it wasn't even like one of those things where, a guy is saying that and you think like, okay, he's full of it. Now, he just seemed actually relaxed this morning. Mm-hmm. Seriously.
It was Jabari Walker the other day in Camden, maybe 2 days ago now, when he was talking to the media. And I know, look, Jabari Walker's not someone that's going to move the needle for a lot of people, but he's there. He's playing with a guy like VJ Edgecom, so I'm going to listen to what he has to say. He was talking about VJ Edgecom as if, like, VJ Edgecom has already had an NBA career and is just going back to it. Like, he looks way too comfortable for a rookie, and not in a bad way where he's taking anything for granted. But, like, this doesn't faze him. And for that, I mean, you just got to credit his upbringing. You got to credit the way, he's gone about his business to this point in his young life. And then the other part of it is that Bohemian national team where he's played with NBA players, that must have been, I don't know, something that has expedited the maturation process just in terms of his mindset and mentality going into his NBA career, going into his NBA debut. I would have to think, Keith, that plays a big role in it.
And I think that's what it is, if we're really going to be honest, which I think the fact that, when we talk about the Bohemian national team, you say, okay, well, he's played next to Klay Thompson, Buddy Hield, and he's played in big games against other professional players. Now, again, the NBA is the best league in the world. And, the Bohemian national team did not make it to the Olympics, but they did play in what they call friendlies or what have you, or qualifying games. So, yeah, I think that has a lot to do with it, if we're going to be honest. It's like, you know what I mean? I played with pros. I've been playing with pros for a while. I know what I can do. And I've been putting in a lot of work. I've been putting in a lot of work for this moment. So, right now it's just trust what I've been doing and make sure that I can get it done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm excited to see it. And as I've said throughout the, really watching him in college, through the draft, summer league, even Abu Dhabi, and then finally against the Timberwolves in their final preseason game, like his athleticism only seems to increase. And maybe that was the weight program he was on between summer league and training camp starting up. I don't know, but he just looks all that much more impressive physically as an athlete. So I look forward to seeing that come together. Now, as far as other storylines go, one of the main ones going into this is what will the starting lineup be? We've talked about it before, but today's the day. It's official. Do you think it'll be the same starting lineup that we saw in the preseason finale with Joel Embiid and Adem Bona in there, Kelly Oubre more as the 3, and then having Edgecom and Maxey as your 1-2 punch at the guard position?
And this is a great one because this team plays 5 out, right? To whereas you can say this is a game that you could possibly go with, 3 guards starting. Embiid and a power forward. But at the same time, I do think that, you got to have them match up against you as well, right? Mm-hmm. And then you got to take advantage of the size that you have. So I look at it as if, especially right now where you don't want Embiid to do too much, right? Too much jumping, all this other stuff. I look at it as if what you do is you start the same lineup, which that lineup was Adembona at the 5, Joel at the 4, Kelly Oubre at the 3, VJ Edgecom at the 2, and Tyrese Maxey at the 1, or Maxey at the 2 and VJ at the 1. And then what we'll see probably is that, then all of a sudden, Bona will be the first guy out, and then they'll bring in Barlow, and then they'll bring in Quentin Grimes and things like that, and they're just going to go with various different lineups. But yeah, I think, and it could change, but I think that at least that would be their best bet, is going with that big lineup.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that one to start things out. The other thing that I want to ask you about is, I think the one difference we'll see as far as a starting 5 goes won't be as far as a personnel. It won't be different there. But I think what will be different is I think Maxey's going to be the guy bringing the ball up. It won't be VJ Edgecom out of the gate bringing the ball up. Has Nick Nurse hinted either way? Like against the Timberwolves with Embiid on the floor and VJ out there starting, he was predominantly the guy bringing the ball up in almost every case. Inbounds play, whatever, he was the guy bringing the ball up. Do you think Maxey will be on ball more than we saw in that last game?
I Nick Nurse didn't speak this morning, but I think that you go with what you did the first game. The last game. I'm talking about at least early on, because when we look at it, when you look at it, VJ brought the ball up, but as soon as he got past half court, he gave the ball to Maxey with a running start, right? So what it did is it prevented teams from trapping Maxey, blitzing Maxey, doing a lot of other things. They freed him up. Now, I think if people start blitzing VJ early on, like as soon if like say they're going to guard him 94 feet, then I think, give the ball to Maxey, right? Or just keep trying to pass it, do these out, just keep passing the ball. But if no one's like applying pressure, I think that at least try to do what you did initially. I mean, not initially, but do what you did in the Minnesota game. That way, because Maxey's going to get the ball. It's just a matter of when he gets the ball.
If I get this question a couple times, you must get this question thousands of times, Keith. And that's kind of, what are the expectations for this year? When I get the question and people ask me what to expect from the Sixers, I say, and you could agree or disagree and you tell me your own reaction to it, but I say if Joel Embiid's healthy, and Paul George is healthy, you're talking about competing for an NBA title. I'm not saying they're going to win it. I'm not saying they're even going to make the finals. I'm just saying they'll be competed. It's a year they're going to go in to try to really win it. If you don't have those guys healthy, then you're talking about something that not a lot of people want to hear. You're talking about a developmental year, both to develop Tyrese Maxey as the number one guy, to develop VJ Edgecom as a solid NBA contributor, and then maybe even more in the near future. Adembona taking another step, Quentin Grimes hopefully taking another step. You're talking about more of a developmental year. When you get asked the question what to expect from the Sixers, what do you say?
I mean, I think if those two guys are healthy, they can be a playoff team. Yes, I get that the East is wide open, but I think that if those two guys are healthy, what you need to do is you need to scour the league and see if there's a veteran guy that you can trade for later on in the season, a veteran who can help you out. Yes, I like what Don Barlow is doing. We have not seen with Trendon Watford can do yet, but at the same time, I do think that they could be a quality team. They could be a playoff team if they're healthy, but at the same time, I think that they don't have enough to compete with the New York Knicks, the Atlanta Hawks, the Cleveland Cavaliers, things like that. So I don't see them coming out of the East right now. I just don't. I don't.
Yeah, I would if I'm betting. I wouldn't bet for them to come out of the East, but better than what I would have expected a month ago. I think now look, no, I'm not doing a cartwheel if they make it to the second round, but I'm just trying to say as far as expectations go, I think it's fair if you're talking about a healthy season to talk about that second round and potentially getting out of that, but not necessarily getting out of the Eastern Conference.
Yeah. But here's the thing, right now we're basing everything off of what they saw in the preseason. I think typically you want to go maybe 12 games in, 10 to 12 games in the regular season to see what they really got. So we'll learn more. But to me personally, these first 5 games should be telling a little bit because, first of all, I know that Paul George isn't playing just yet. We know that Jared McCain isn't playing at this particular time. However, when we look at this Boston team, this is a team that's not expected to do a lot this year, right? So this is a barometer game for this Sixers squad right now, right? This Boston squad, they lost. Like, they're going to be without 4 players who started last year or were within their top 6, right? So I just think that, like, if we'll learn something about their competitiveness, then they go to Charlotte. They play Charlotte at home. Then they play Orlando at home. Then they go to Washington on a back-to-back. And then after 2 days later, 2 days off, they play Boston at home on Halloween. To me, we'll learn a lot because when we look at this, there's only one team that they're going to play, and they're going to play that team once, Orlando Magic, that is really a lot that's expected of them right now. This is an easy stretch, supposedly, for the 76ers. So we'll learn a lot, right? But the key is the swing game, to me, is the Boston Celtics, those two. So tonight is we'll get a better idea. Now, again, they're banged up, but you would think a Boston Celtics team that lost Kristaps, lost Al Horford, their top 2 bigs, that lost their best perimeter defender in Drew Holiday, that's lost their best player, the first team All-NBA in Jason Tatum. You would think that this Sixers squad should be able to beat them with Joel Embiid and with Tyrese Maxey. You would think that they should be able to beat them.
You would think, and I'm hoping that's the case, obviously. When we return, we'll talk about bold and safe bets when we look at this season as far as our predictions go on this upcoming NBA season that gets – actually, the whole season got underway last night with a couple of wild games, including a double OT game pulled out by the who was it? The OKC Thunder over the Rockets. So a lot to get into as far as last night went and also what gets into tonight for the 76ers. He's Keith Pompey. I'm Marc Farzetta. Be back right after this on Locked On 76ers. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. And right now I'm going to tell you about Prize Picks, as this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Every day we make decisions, but on Prize Picks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss the excitement of this football season or basketball season with Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Playing Prize Picks is so much fun. It's a simple way to add more excitement to football. For instance, you can pick more or less on player stat projections like Josh Allen or Saquon Barkley or Jalen Hurts, their passing yards, their rushing yards, whatever they might be. Prize Picks has got you covered. I absolutely love how quick and easy it is to use Prize Picks. Prize Picks is fantastic. It's also fun to follow other players on the app and copy their lineups with one click. It's just that simple. And the new injury reboot feature, something worth bragging about. If your player leaves early and doesn't return, it won't count against you. Mike Evans, unfortunate incident there against the Lions. Maybe that doesn't count against you if you leave the game that early, if your player leaves the game that early. So download the Prize Picks app today and use promo code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code LOCKEDONNBA for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup at Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today. And let me tell you about Bilt. How great Bilt is. Nobody actually likes paying rent. Is that something you look forward to every month? I didn't think so. But how about this? What if you paid rent, but also got a little something extra for it as well. That's where Bilt, B-I-L-T, comes in. Bilt is changing the game by turning rent payment into real rewards you can actually use. When you pay rent through Bilt, you earn flexible points that can redeem toward hundreds of hotels and airlines and future rent payment with your next Lyft ride and so much more. Bilt isn't just about rent. It's about rewarding you around your entire neighborhood. I love how Bilt uses your rent to work for you. That's the beauty of Bilt. Turn your rent into something for rewards, for instance, for your neighborhood as well, by going to joinbilt.com/lockedonnba. That's JOINBILT, joinbilt.com/lockedonnba, and make sure to use that promo code in the link as well, so they know we sent you from Locked On 76ers. Keith, a while back, we did a show about our predictions, our safest bets, so to speak. We talked about Tyrese Maxey being a guy to come out and be a leading scorer for this team, certainly. We've talked about VJ Edgecom as far as the maturation process, not just mentally for him, but his game as well. When you think about safest bets to make for this season, I don't mean literal bets, but safest things to bank on, safest predictions, what do you think of with this team? What do you think is a safe bet with the 76ers?
Well, I think the safest bet is, I mean, we talked about Tyrese Maxey. I think Tyrese Maxey probably will play in the most games of anybody of the standout players. I mean, I think, you know what? Here's the thing. Safe bet. I think VJ Edgecom makes the all-rookie team. I mean, I know that sounds generic and easy thing, but I do think but some guys played and didn't do it. But because when you talk about this team, there's not a lot of safe bets. I mean, there isn't. There's a lot of uncertainty right now, right? So, Tyrese Maxey leading the team in scoring, that's a safe bet. He playing more games than probably anybody else on the team. Him and Kelly Oubre, most likely, right, is another safe bet. But I do think that VJ Edgecom is going to be like one of the top rookies, is going to be a first-team all-rookie selection. Mm-hmm. And that's generic, but outside of that, I can't say that Joel is going to do this, Joel is going to do that. I don't know.
Is there anybody that you think right now, because there's one name that jumps to mind, and I think this is the one you'd say as well, but is there anybody that's flying under the radar a little bit now that you think, oh yeah, wait till fans see him over the next, like you said, 10 or 12 games, or wait till fans see him after he gets his feet wet in the NBA, or gets his feet wet with the Sixers for a month? Is there anybody you're looking at right now that you think is going to surprise a lot of people by the way they're going to play this year?
That's a great question. In regards to flying under the radar, and this is a guy who's been here before, and I feel like he's flying under the radar, is Kelly Oubre. Now, Kelly Oubre hasn't particularly shot the ball well in the preseason, right? But he's doing everything else that you ask him to do. He's running the floor. He's playing solid defense. He's, winning a lot of those hustle plays. So I feel like he's a guy that could elevate his play. He can elevate his game, and people can be like, oh, we remember you, Kelly. We remember you. Aside from that, it's weird because, everyone else has been either joining the team late, Quentin Grimes, or injured. You know what I mean? So, for the most part. So, but I think Kelly is a guy who's currently flying under the radar because there's a lot of excitement with VJ Edgecom and Quentin Grimes and all those type of guys, and he hasn't shot the ball particularly well. But I do think that once the real games happen, people are going to start saying, okay, Kelly, we see it. We remember what you can do.
Yeah. Also, I think the versatility of him being able to play 3, 4 in a pinch, also be the shooting guard, I think that's really going to help him as well. I'm a little surprised. I do like that as the self-proclaimed president of the Kelly Oubre fan club. I am a little surprised you didn't say Dom Barlow.
Well, I mean, the thing is, we've been talking about him for a while, and I think that I don't think Dom is flying under the radar anymore. Like, I think that he's the guy that people are like. I mean, think about it. A couple of days ago, there was somebody asked the question: is he better than Yabusele? So
that's right. Yeah,
I don't think so, but at the same time, that's what people are asking.
I think there is one guy that has helped his stock tremendously through the offseason. He was a late addition to Summer League, and obviously with the team in Abu Dhabi, he's been with them ever since, and that's Don Barlow. I think that there is one person that has helped his stock more so than anybody by a million. That's Don Barlow. On the opposite end of that, is there anyone other than Justin Edwards who has hurt their stock more since Summer League? Thinking about it, pondering.
Yeah, I mean, I think I wouldn't say he hurt his stock, but I do think, and because it's the preseason, but I do think that the success that Don Barlow is having, a lot of people thought it was going to be Jabari Walker. You know what I mean? A lot of people thought that, and the fact, like, Don Barlow is a guy who's in the rotation. Jabari isn't at this particular time. So I don't know if his stock was hurt to a point, but I just know that it's one of those things where he was jumped in the pecking order. I mean, he just was, and he's a guy that they love the way he can shoot the ball, and he's known for he had a big game last year against Boston, but, we just have to see what he's going to do. So I don't know if he really hurt his stock, but let's just say Don Barlow took his rotation minutes.
It was more like Don Barlow, just his stock rose so high it made everybody else look like it fell a little bit.
He just took advantage of the opportunity. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's true. Before we go into the next segment here and talk about our win totals and all that, if I just put the line at 59.5 games for Joel Embiid to play in this year, 59.5 games, do you take the over or do you take the under?
I probably take the under.
Okay. All right.
I probably take the under. You know what I mean? I probably take the under.
Is that load management, or is that what's next for Joel Embiid? Because we've talked about it many times. It's not just the injury he has now and the one he gets over. It's the one that, is down the line, because unfortunately that's been the trend of his career.
Well, I think they have 16 back-to-backs. There are going to be some other games where he just sits out, so, that's 8 games right there. I just think that is a lot of things. I think that the 76ers are going to be extremely cautious with him. And, that's a lot of games. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, no one expected, I shouldn't say no one, but the way that they were talking, like, oh, we're going to take it slow. A month ago, everybody was thinking he was going to come back in January or maybe December, or you know what I mean? And he came back earlier, but I just don't see him playing in 60 games this year. I just don't. I just don't. And, like, when you look at his career, Joel hasn't played in over 60 games a lot, at least over 66 games a lot in his career. I don't have it in front of me, but I think it might have been 2 or 3 or whatever, if that.
He's never played 70. I know that.
Yeah, he's never played 70. So when we talk about Joel in his prime not playing 70, and now we're talking about Joel where they're trying to be careful with him, I don't see it.
To your point, the 16 back-to-backs, that's 8 games right there before we even step on the court. And then there's the load management. There's a little tweak of this, a little tweak of that. Oh, we're giving him the week off, whatever. So I the only reason I set it that high is because this is the first time we're supposed to see Joel Embiid in this new role. So on that, with this facilitator role, before we get to the next segment there, I want to ask you this as well. Is the new role of him being at the elbow, him not being the ball dominant player in terms of scoring, is that something do you think sticks with the 76ers throughout this season? Or do you think Joel will want to revert back to old ways?
I think it all depends on how he feels. right? I mean, and I do. I think that, right now it's one of those things where you look at it and you're like, okay, we don't know what we have in Joel. Let's try this out. And, it's kind of like you're taking baby steps, so to speak, right, on what he does. I feel like if it gets to a point where they feel like he can do a little bit more than that and go and maybe revert back to being his dominant self as far as being so hard to guard, I do think that he'll do more, right? I do. I think that he will. So to me, it's one of those things where, like, let's throw it out there. Let's see what he can do. And then, like, if he can get more comfortable with doing other things, let's do that as well. Because let's face it, in the postseason, they're going to be stretches where they're going to have to ride Joel's coattail. Like, they're going to need Joel Embiid to take over and dominate for them to win games. And I feel like, the stuff he's doing now is great. You're getting other people involved, but you're Joel Embiid. You're a guy that scored 70 points. You're a guy that, was on the cusp of winning 3 consecutive scoring titles, right? So I do believe that, if he can do more. Now, if he can't do more, no. If this is who Joel Embiid is, you're not going to do it. But if they find out he can, they're going to have to be games where we're going to see that Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid 2-man game. And you get the shooters on there to stretch the floor. You get someone playing in a dunker spot, grabbing rebounds, but you're going to have 2 shooters with them. So
fair enough. Keith Pompey, Marc Farzetta will be back right after this to give you our win totals on the 76ers season. Starts tonight, 7:30 tip-off in Boston. All that more right after this. Oh, boy. Let me tell you about Rouiet. Yes, that's right. Let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just the stress. I'm tired. It happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support, and that's where Rouiet comes in. Rouiet.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED, designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. That's Rouiet at Rouiet.com, Rugiet.com. It makes getting started so much easier. And how about this? It ships directly to your door in a discreet package. The process is fast, simple, and private, and it's all handled by real doctors. It's about confidence. It's about connection. It's about getting back the moments that matter most. With Rouiet at Rouiet.com. Go to Rouiet.com/LockedOnNBA to get 15% off your first order. That's Rouiet, Rugiet.com/LockedOnNBA. And don't forget to use our code LockedOnNBA so they know we sent you. Rouiet. Stop making excuses. Start making moves. There you go, Keith. I'm a true professional.
Yeah, I see.
When you look at the 70s... When you look at the 76ers season and you look into your crystal ball, what do you give them? What is the win total? And give us in the comments, give us in the chat as well. What is the win total?
I have the Sixers going 42-40 this year.
Ooh.
Yeah, that may be higher than some. But this is the hardest thing to basically determine. I mean, because when we look at it, no one knows how good this team is going to be if you don't know how many games they're going to play. Paul George, we got to figure out if, once he comes back, was it because was the subpar play because Father Time caught up with him, or was there subpar play because he maybe wasn't utilized right, or maybe because he was injured, right? So there's a lot of question marks, but the East is wide open. I do feel like that the 76ers could possibly win 42 games, go 42-40 in the regular season, and see where that gets them.
That's so crazy. And I said this before on another show. I'll say it now. I'm right there. I'm at the 42 win-ish mark as well. I didn't know that was your number. That is, yeah, I think you and I have the same exact beat on this team when it comes to what they could do this year. And again, as I said earlier, when people ask me about what to expect from the team, I say, well, if you have Embiid and you have Paul George healthy, then you can start thinking about getting out of the second round, competing to win the East, maybe getting to the title, but it starts at hopefully just that second round. They don't play, you're talking about a developmental year. I am approaching this season with the idea that it's going to be more developmental than a lot of people would like. You're going to see VJ Edgecom get better, Tyrese Maxey take more control, Joel Embiid hopefully learn being second. The second option in scoring will help, but I think it's going to be more of a developmental yield than a lot of other people will think. Now, I'll say this. Eddie is saying out of the gate here, 42 to 40 is disrespectful. Peter is saying 48. Sterling saying 43. That's more in our ballpark. Anthony saying 47. How about this? Junior Hayden saying 49 wins. That's very optimistic. That's very optimistic, Keith. You know what? I'm going to go and say I hope they're right. I'm also going to say that I hope the first win is tonight. And I'm going to go out on a limb, say the Sixers win tonight, and they start the season off on the right foot. I know you'll be there. You're there in Boston already. You'll be at the other Garden tonight watching this game all unfold. Did you want to be so bold as to give a prediction for tonight?
You know what? That's great. It's weird. Like I think they got to win tonight, and I get it. It's one of 82,
right?
But I think that the 76ers know that this is a game that's going to put them on great footing, so to speak. Mm-hmm. Right now you have Tyrese Maxey, you have Joel Embiid, you have two guys who are all-star caliber. Jaylen Brown will probably play. He's the only all-star caliber player that they have. I think the Sixers win tonight. I do. I think they are
3.5-point underdogs tonight. So we'll see how that plays out. He's Keith Pompey. I'm Marc Farzetta. We appreciate you guys joining us here ahead of the first game of the season here for the 76ers in Boston. Thank you for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. For your next listen, check out Josh Lloyd for the #1 fantasy basketball podcast out there, Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Locked On Fantasy Basketball. You can get it on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. For Keith Pompey, I'm Marc Farzetta. Keith, safe travels, my man. Enjoy the game tonight. And here's to hopefully having a good game to cover. See you guys tomorrow. Bye.
See you tomorrow.